Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss union and intersection of sets, and then we will discuss the concept of universal and complement sets, and this will be the lesson 2, and we will continue that topic, sets and notation. So today we are going to discuss the union and intersection of sets, and then we will discuss the basic concept of universal and complement sets, and at the end we will solve few practice questions related to sets, and then I will recommend few questions from the book D4 7th edition related to sets and notation. But what we have discussed in the last class? In last class we have discussed the introduction to sets and notation, and then we have discussed the Venn diagram, the basic concept of Venn diagram, and then I have shared few recommended questions related to sets and notation from the book D4 7th edition. And if you have missed a lesson, you can see the link in the description, or if you have missed any lesson, you can see the link in the description. So let's start our class. So let's start our class. Now, in last class we have discussed this example, and we will continue it, and we will try to share the concept of this Venn diagram. You can see here that this is an example we were discussing, in which we have few soccer players and few tennis players. Now let's say we have another set which is the volleyball set, and these three are the players which plays volleyball. Now S will represent in this Venn diagram, S will represent the soccer players, T will represent the tennis player, and V will represent the set of volleyball players. Now if I ask you to shade the region which will be S union T union V, so you have to shade all these three circles. Now you can see that this shows that the union of S union T union V. Now here we can observe few things, that these two are the players which plays both soccer, tennis and volleyball. These two are the players, and only this one is the player. This is the player which plays all the three games. So from the Venn diagram we can clearly identify that which are the players, or which are the numbers which are in all the three circles. In other words, we can easily identify the union and intersection of any sets. Now here we can see the first one diagram shows the union of T and V, tennis and volleyball, because the shaded region is this. Now here this one represent the set S, so we will say that this is set S because only the set S is in the shaded region. The second one is the T union V, which means that these are the players which plays tennis as well as the volleyball. Now in the third one we can see S union V, S intersection V, because this is the region of intersection between S and V and T. So you can see here this will be the intersection of S union V, S intersection V. So this region shows the intersection. So from the Venn diagram we can clearly identify the union and intersection of any set. Now the empty set has no element and it will be represented like this, that there will be no element between these two brackets. And universal set is the set that has everything, well, not exactly everything that are interested in now. Like if we want to make the union of the set, the universal set, it will be the names of all these players. So that will be the universal set. Like this one is the universal set, that here you can see that these are the names of all the players which plays tennis, soccer, volleyball, and those players also which are not playing any of the game. So now if you want to write it as, so it will be, we can say it that it will be S complement. Now S complement means U minus S. So that is why we have shaded the whole rectangle except this circle S. You can see here that we have subtracted the set, the circle S, that is why the circle S is not shaded. So we will say it the complement. So what does this term complement means? Complement means, first of all, you can represent it like this, that you can write it as S complement, or you can also represent it as S bar. Now here you can see S complement means, you can, let me write it here, S complement means U minus S. Here also you can see the explanation that S complement means you have to subtract the circle S from the rectangle U, the elements of rectangle U. When I say the circle S, it means the set S, and set S means the elements of set S. So now this will be the summary of this topic, sets and notation. Now these are the very important key terms, that the symbol of U is this, and in universal set you have to include all the elements of A and B, or any two sets. Like here this is the symbol of intersection, and intersection mean you have to write, you have to mention the common sets, and this negative sign means you have to write the difference. Now A complement means we have discussed it in detail, that you have to subtract A from the universal set. Let me write it here, that A complement is equals to U minus A. We have discussed it in detail in the previous lesson, that how to find the difference between two sets. Difference between two sets we have discussed it in the previous lesson, or in lesson 1. So if you have missed this lesson, you can see the link in the description. Now after that we have discussed the empty set. Empty set means you have to represent the empty set like this. There will be no element in the empty set. And after that you can represent the universal set, and universal set includes all the things we are interested in, just like the previous example. Is it? Now this is an interesting example which will be discussed here. Now some of the results of the campus blood drive survey indicates that 490 students were willing to donate blood, 340 students were willing to help serve a free breakfast to blood donor, and 120 were willing to do the both. Now the question here is that how many students were willing to donate blood or serve breakfast? So you have to find out the number of blood donors or the breakfast servers. So the formula you have to write here, that number of A union B is equals to number of elements of A plus number of elements of B minus number of elements of A intersection B. Now what does this term means? Why we are doing this, why we are subtracting the last term? You can see here that if we have to if the sets are disjoint, then we don't need to do this thing. But if the sets are not disjoint, like if there is an intersection part here like this one, if there is no disjoint set, then we will do this subtraction. Then we will do this last portion, and we will discuss it with an example also. Like this one, you can see the number of blood donors are 490, the number of breakfast servers are 340, and the number of blood donors and breakfast server is 120. So we can just put these values in the formula and we can find out the required value. Now what are the key points? Now here the key point is that given that if we have two disjoint sets, and if we want to find out the number of elements of A union B, then we have to simply add the number of elements of A and number of elements of B. Let me give you an example here. That let's say if you have the elements A 1, 2, 3, 4, and let's say we have the second set which has the elements 5, 6, 7. Now we can see that if we want to find out the number of elements of A union B, then we don't need to subtract that intersection portion, because there is no intersection portion, because the intersection portion will be the empty set. So what we will do, we will write the number of elements of A plus number of elements of B. Now the number of elements of A are 4 and the number of elements of B are 3. So the total number of elements of A union B will be 7. And we can also see this thing by finding out the A union B. And A union B will be equals to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up to 7. So we can see that the number of elements of A union B are 7. Similarly, if we have two intersecting sets, intersecting set means, let's say if we have the set SC is equals to 1, 2, 3. Now we can see that these two are the two non-intersecting sets, two intersecting sets. So C and D are two intersecting sets. Now what does it mean? It means that if we want to draw the Venn diagram, so Venn diagram for C and D will be like this. That the number of elements of C are 1, 2, 3 and 4, and the number of elements of set D will be this. So we can see that there will be an intersection portion here, or there will be some common elements between C and D. So now if we want to find out the number of elements of A union B, so it will be equals to number of elements of A, which is 4, number of elements of, let me change this alphabet, number of element of C is 4, number of elements of D is 3, minus number of elements of C intersection D, which will be 2, because we can see that it has 2 elements. So that is why you have to subtract it. So the final answer will be 5. Now we can see if we want to find out the C union D, the answer will be from 1 to 5, and hence the number of element of C intersection B will be 5. Is it clear? I hope that the concept is clear. Now these are the few questions, these are the few recommended questions from book D4 7th edition, and it is from exercise 2A page number 31, and these all the most relevant questions related to Maths 4024. And please attempt these questions, and if you will have any question, you can ask it in the comment section. And if you want me to describe these questions in the lesson, so please let me know in the chat box, in the comment section, and then we will discuss it during the class. If you will ask me to do it, then we will discuss these questions during the class. And then these are the few review exercise questions, recommended review exercise questions from book D4. Please attempt these questions also, and if you will have any question, you can ask it in the comment section. So at the end of each lesson, each video, we must ask few questions from ourselves, that what you have learned today. We have learned the union and intersection of sets, and then we have discussed that how to find the number of elements of A union B if there is the disjoint set or if there is the intersecting set. Then we have discussed the concept of universal and complement sets, and at the end I recommend few questions from the book D4 7th edition related to sets and set language and notation. If you have any question, please do ask. Now hopefully you have enjoyed the lesson, and if you have any question, you can ask it in the comment section. And if you have liked the video, then you can please subscribe my channel and press the bell icon. Otherwise, you can share your feedback in the comment section. So that is it from my side. Thank you.